I'm Jenny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. Welcome to Connections Over Coffee. Whether you're here with us live on Zoom, joining us on Facebook, or watching later on YouTube, I'm glad you're here. This is your time to slow down, fill up, and connect with other heart-centered women who are making a difference in the world. I'm blessed to have one of those women here with me today. Andrea Hylen is speaking on the holidays, connecting with family, friends, and ancestors with simple rituals. Andrea is a writer, coach, ancestral lineage healing practitioner, and a psychopomp guide. She is devoted to healing intergenerational trauma, grief, and loss through creative expression in her annual incubator, an online co-working space for women creatives and their ancestors. She is the mother of 3 adult daughters, 1 deceased son, and has ancestors from Scotland, Ireland, England, Wales, Sweden, Germany, and Mayflower settlers. She lives a house-free lifestyle with a mailbox in Los Angeles and embodies the possibilities of a sharing economy. To learn about Andrea's current offerings and events, visit andreahylen.com, and that link is also in the text of this video. Andrea, I think you've changed it just a little bit, your intro. I like that.
I
I like
it's funny because I thought, oh yeah, yeah, that I forgot I was including all of those things. So
Yeah,
good.
oh, well, glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, and you are on.
Great. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks for the intro and thank you to everyone who is in the Zoom room live right now. I really appreciate how there was just so much heart that was shared in the breakout rooms when we talked a little bit about grief. And I want to just say that as I was preparing for this, the word grief kept coming up. And I want to begin by talking about grief, by acknowledging that it is part of the holidays. And then I'll talk about rituals and we will share a simple ritual. If you have a candle nearby, you can grab that for the ritual. It's not necessary though. I have a candle for all of us that we can use together. All right. Whenever I think about grief around the holidays, I like to mention that in 2010, I hosted 44 radio shows over the holidays between the Sunday before Thanksgiving and Epiphany. And the topic was grief transformation. And I really felt I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to acknowledge it. And after a lot of my own personal loss and grief, I was aware of how much it touches people around the holidays. So my goal in having those shows was to provide support with time and space to acknowledge and talk about grief. I talked about many of my personal losses, including the deaths of my brother, my son, and husband at different times throughout my life. I talked about the loss of a job, a life-threatening illness, a divorce, and I had conversations with 27 guests who shared a variety of experiences, including a house fire, dark night of the soul, losses of loved ones through disease and suicide. I talked with a friend who is transgender and talked about how grief was connected to this change of living from what he always knew who he is, and also letting go of some of his identity that he had lived with throughout his life. So the other thing in the radio shows, well, we also talked about how change and disappointment can bring up feelings around grief, around the holidays. Just something not working out the way you had hoped, a dream that you had that just didn't come true, and at the time in 2010, there was a lot of change that was going on around those years. And so it seemed even more palpable. And so as I was thinking about today, I thought, 2025 has been a significant year of challenges. And whether or not it's something that you were touched by personally or something you were supporting, I mean, there have been completions, endings, And there's something about this year that was marking not just the end of this year, but of cycles that are ending. And that can show up in different ways. So I just want to acknowledge that this year, your life may have been touched by chaos or disruption in some way, or someone you love. It could have included a physical accident or an illness. It could have been the conclusion of a healing period, and I know that Sandra mentioned that, like letting go of something from the past and coming into the fullness of who you are. And even in that place, there can be like, oh, we've let go of a part of ourselves that we were comfortable with. It could be the end of a marriage, children going off to college, the death of a loved one, or the completion of a project in your business that you have been working on for a long time, and you may even feel empty from that piece. So during this holiday season, I'm just acknowledging you may be feeling some grief or just from the exhaustion of the year of 2025. And before we talk about some merriment, I want to acknowledge the presence of grief as part of that. So I want to share that about the ancestors also briefly, but in my world, the holiday season begins at the September equinox around September 21st, when light and dark are evenly balanced. And then we start to progress through the months towards the winter solstice, which is this year, December 21st. It's always around that time, which is the darkest time of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. So there are many celebrations between September and December that honor our ancestors. These include harvest festivals, rituals, celebrating the dead, such as Day of the Dead, Samhain, Halloween, All Saints' Day, to just name a few. The veils between the seen and the unseen world feel thinner, and we may experience an increase in feelings of grief and sadness that start coming up by November. And the loss of loved ones and even the unprocessed grief can be present in the cells of our body, in our DNA from our ancient ancestors. Things that grief that was carried by generations before, where there was never a time or place to even process it, to even feel all of those feelings. Sometimes we experience grief that can even be amplified because we're grieving something that happened with our ancestors, and famine, war, something. But in epigenetics studies, they've shown that we actually carry emotion from our ancestors in the cells of our body. So I want to share something about how there's something powerful about acknowledging this light and dark. I lived in Burbank, California for a few years, and one of my daily habits was to walk around the neighborhoods and connect with nature. And there was a particular time of day, every afternoon, when the sun would light up parts of a mountain that was right there next to Warner Brothers Studios. And it was always so breathtaking to me. I looked forward to seeing that. But it was like the sunlight created shadows on parts of the terrain. And this combination of light and dark allowed for a picture with so much depth that you just couldn't even see looking at the mountain until that light and dark came together. My heart would soar every time I saw it. It was just so beautiful. And I was reminded every time I saw it of how we need both dark and light for beauty in the world. I mean, when I think about it, some of my darkest moments have been some of my most light-filled moments. So let's not shy away from talking about the many layers of the holidays, what has been lost, and the power of bringing in the light to feel the depth of our love. And just a reminder, like, let's be gentle with each other this holiday season. Some people are going to appear shell-shocked from the sudden changes of this year. Even I'll just acknowledge there were some things happening around the world this weekend that were losses and sudden, and like, it's okay to just feel like you want to pull the covers over your head and feel what you're feeling when you hear about things in the news or in your family and friend groups. It's also okay to focus on simple rituals and simple pleasures. It's okay to set boundaries and go inward and be still. It's okay to focus more on being than doing. So we'll just let that sink in. It's okay to do all of that. So I'm going to shift here and talk a little bit about rituals. We can do simple rituals that bring in more light this time of year. I mean, you can do it any time of year, but this time of year with it just being darker, we can embrace the power and magic of approaching this darkest day, the shortest day of light on December 21st in the Northern Hemisphere. And focusing on calling in our well ancestors in spirit can help with the magic in the present. It can help us connect with those who are living, those who have died from their bodies. But as most of us in conversations today, there's a belief that they are. I certainly feel my husband with me still. It's been 20 years since he died. So let's just talk about some simple things that you can do. And something you can do is lighting candles before the sun rises or after the sun sets, and just bring in some of that light. Or light candles and sit in the dark. It's really beautiful and mysterious and magical. It brings me back to childhood, actually, with some of the candles and the light. Be silent or play quiet music in the background. You might look out the window at nature. And if you do it in the morning, watch the sunrise. Watch the light that's creeping into the day and lighting up the world. Welcome that light into your life. Some things specifically with ancestors are, you could set a place at the table with dishes and a chair. I like to say I call on my well ancestors because I just believe in the unseen world. There's some who haven't had, who need a little more love and light, but I call on the well ones. And here's a little thing that you could do. If you know the language that ancestors spoke from more of an ancient time, of farther away from the more recent, you could write the word welcome in their language and place it at the table. But you could do things as you set the table, just acknowledging those loved ones who you may not feel like they have a seat at the table this year with their presence, but that you can acknowledge and welcome them into your life, into your celebration. Another thing that you can do is take a walk in nature and bring some nature into your home. Create an altar of offerings. Could be pine cones, leaves. You could add some cookies and a drink to that to be with nature. If you want to do something with like an ancestor altar, you can also put photos of ancestors who have died in a location. And I always recommend, if it is specifically an ancestor altar, only put those who have died on the altar. But you can have gatherings of family pictures of people who are living or who have died in other, in another type of thing. But ancestor altar, only those who have died. And here's something, if you want to walk at night, bring lanterns or flashlights to light the way. Hug a tree. Talk to the nature around you and thank that tree. Thank the snow that has fallen. developing a relationship with nature that you see every day is a way of feeling closer to loved ones and ancestors. And really, when I think about ancient ancestors, one of the things I've also done is look for music or song in a language that is not one that I speak, but they did, and just play the music in the background. I like to tell a story that when I went to Sweden for 6 weeks, I would go to church with my friends and hear the Swedish words. I don't speak Swedish other than kärlek, which is love. And I don't speak it, yet somehow I'd have thoughts about forgiveness on the day that the sermon was about forgiveness, and I would have thoughts about love on the days that the priest would talk about love. So somehow I was receiving the vibration from the language. So that's another way of connecting. So be curious about what you're already feeling drawn to. It can be simple. It doesn't have to be a feast for 20 people. Keep it simple. And trust that the way that you feel you want to honor and celebrate this time is exactly what is going to support you. All right, I would like to have us do an actual ritual. And let me reach over here. If you have a candle, then you might want to grab that. And again, you don't need it. We can use mine for all of us. So I'm going to use a ceremony that I'm sure many of you have heard. It's called the burning bowl ceremony, and I'm going to share a little bit of a twist about it. This is where you write down something that you want to release and you burn it. And a modified version is to call on one of the elements: air, water, fire, earth, ether, air, water, fire, earth, ether. And I'm going to make sure I included them all in there. And you can ask them to help you with that. So I'm going to just share how to do that. And when I talk about releasing, this can be a person, a belief, a feeling, the ending of a cycle, where you're just honoring what has been and you release what is no longer useful. You can write something down on a paper, but we don't need to. You can do that, but you don't need to do it for the way I'm going to do it. So the elements, you could write something down on some paper and you could burn it, which is the element of fire. You can place the paper in water, which is the element of water. You can bury the paper in the earth. Earth is the element. You can also, what we're going to do is you can speak the words into the candle and then blow it out. So that brings in the element of air. You can also ask your trusted spirit guides to clear the energy around you, and that is ether. And just to say a few more words about release, and then we'll do this together. You can release something that's been carried in your ancestry. You can release something that is heavy in your heart. You can release a belief or a habit. You can declare an ending to this period of your life as you get ready to embrace something new and stepping into the threshold of the new. All right, so let's do this together. If you want to have your own candle, you can light the candle now. And I'll light this for all of us. You can, let's begin by just calling on some kind of trusted guide that is in the unseen world. And so this could be a big power, like a goddess, an archangel, a spirit animal. You could call on the ocean, a mountain, a tree. It could also be a power you work with, like light, sound, breath, something you feel resonant with. So let's just take a moment to call on some kind of a power that that you resonate with. It does not have to be religious. It can be something that you just feel a connection to. So just take a moment and call on this power to be with you. And then ask them to clear the energetic space around you, clearing anything out of your space that is not yours, that is not helpful, just in general, a clearing, kind of like a leaf blower coming in and clearing the space around you. And then ask them to set up some kind of a ritual boundary around you. And it's just a way of you feeling your own sovereignty. That right here, right now, all the energy is contained for you, within you, around you. And so let's take a minute to just think of something that you would like to release. And it may be that you want to release something that is a layer. And if you have a candle, you can speak this right into the flame. And if you're going to use mine, I want you to just imagine, and everyone's on mute, so that you could speak the words of something that you want to release into the flame. And now we'll imagine that you can either blow out your candle or help me blow out this one. And this is now released into the flame, and the air is going to complete it. I want you to see how simple that was. Rituals do not have to take us hours to prepare. It can be a moment where something comes up that you want to release. And I'll tell you honestly that sometimes when I'm grieving, I just want to put some of that into the candle and blow away some of the sorrow. Like I've felt it, I've felt what I needed to feel, and I just want to complete it. So as I've shared, was sharing with the group, and this will take me a couple of minutes to just wrap up what we've been sharing today. But this is the first time I've been in Baltimore for Christmas in 15 years. I wasn't born and raised in Baltimore, but all my children were born and raised here, and I spent 28 Christmases here before moving to California and living a house-free nomadic lifestyle. But I'm here this year because one of my grandchildren, my 3-year-old grandson, asked me to please, please, please be here on Christmas. So I said yes. And I've been thinking about like all these different experiences I've had in the past 15 years, so much of them being in stillness with nature, either in the tree wisdom of Seattle or walking at the beach in Santa Monica and Venice, California. Some of them I've spent with one of my daughters in California, but it's been like, let's go walk on the beach and then we go and do our own thing. So it's been very simple holidays for the past 15 years. So I'm just going to share a short reflection about the first Christmas I spent alone. So my husband had died 6 years earlier, and my two oldest daughters were with their partners, and my youngest daughter and I were living in California. Both of us had pet sitting jobs, and we were sleeping at the homes with the animals. So she was in one part of LA and I was in another part. And I was taking care of two elderly dogs who would wake up in the middle of the night and need some extra loving care. So on Christmas morning, I woke up to take care of this sweet old blind dog and just let him out onto the balcony so he could have a quick pee while I sleepily walked into the kitchen for a cup of coffee. And as I walked to the kitchen, I had this palpable feeling of love. It was this feeling of my heart expanding. And it was so strong that I stopped and I just placed my hand over my heart. And I wondered what was happening. Like, this was so powerful. And then I remembered it was Christmas. And I thought, wow, this is what it feels like to be in a field of love and hope and magic. It was so still and peaceful. And I thought, underneath all the presents and the trimmings and something that can feel chaotic and busy, there was this palpable feeling of stillness and love. Like, this is what peace on earth really feels like. So take this feeling of light in the dark, knowing that in this season, and always, but we feel it even more right now, you're in a field of universal love. And that is the meaning that we can embrace for ourselves and picture going out as a ripple into the world. So thank you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for just being present with grief and love and light and dark and all that is magical right now. Thank you. And thanks, Ginny, once again for giving me an opportunity to share something from my heart.
Thank you, Andrea. And, I'm not going to ask for everyone to clap and shout and say, because it doesn't feel like the space here. Just let's all
E.
send Andrea some of that love and
Mhm.
that peace and that joy. Let's send it to everyone here. Let's send it out there to anyone who may be watching, just to anyone who may need a little something extra today. And let's be that. Let's be that love. Let's be that peace. Let's be that joy in the middle of all the other stuff that we're going through. So thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. And I love the idea of blowing away some of the sorrow. That just really resonated with me. Thank you for that. So I want to thank all of you who have joined us today, either here on Zoom or you're catching the replay. Thank you for being part of this amazing community. If you'd like to be more involved, come and visit us at one of our Zoom gatherings. You can go to my website, opwgc.com, and click on our calendar and see all the meetings we have coming up. This is our last Zoom for the year, but we'll be back in January with a whole lot of new stuff for you. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.